Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thank you so much for joining us. I've got a good one for you today. Any of you guys that are into habitat work, hinge cutting, into flush cutting, treating with herbicides, this is going to be a killer video that I think you are going to find really interesting. So what we have behind us here is primarily a sweet gum thicket that we turned into a bedding area last year. One of the most common questions that I get as a consultant when I'm out visiting farms is, Wes, what trees am I looking for to hinge cut? What trees am I wanting to flush cut and make mineral stumps out of? Which trees am I flush cutting and trying to kill? On today's episode, I'm going to take you through this and I'm going to show you real life examples of what whitetails are eating right now, mid-July here in Western Kentucky, off these sprouts, off these hinge cuts. This will answer a lot of questions for a lot of folks on what species should we target and what species should we hinge cut, all things like that. All right, first up, that's an American elm over there, okay? And it is getting absolutely hammered. As you can see, all the sprouts that have been nipped off by whitetails. I mean, that is absolutely getting killed, doing really good things. The reason that side is not is because it's on a ditch. So if you want to see a very real comparison here on how tall all this growth should be, it should be that tall right there. Should be 30, 36 inches tall, and it's barely 2 or 3 inches because the whitetails are keeping that 8 down. They're eating it down all the way down to the ground. You can even see it down in there that they're eating it. All right, here's your Mr. Sweet Gum, right? She gets talked about an awful lot. This was just a flush cut sweet gum. And you can look all over that stump, and I don't see a single bite anywhere, okay? Same with this sweet gum. Absolutely zero. Oh, actually there's two. There's a little bit. They have ate a little bit on it. Right here, right there, and right there. So not a significant amount at all, but they did eat that sweet gum. I think that's worth noting. Look at the sycamore. Not generally known to be browsed hard by whitetails. Getting browsed pretty darn hard, it looks like to me. And quite a bit of browse pressure on that sycamore right there. All right, here's one of my favorites right here. Green ash. Look right here. They are wearing that green ash tree. Every single shoot all the way around that is getting hit. Hope y'all can see all those. Green ash is a very good choice for whitetails. All right, we got a sycamore here. Generally, you don't see a significant amount of pressure on sycamores, but that's just what we have in this area. We have a lot of sycamores. Anybody notice what this stuff is here? You can leave a comment down below. I'll give you a hint, it's not good. All right, here's the hackberry. And you can see the amount of pressure that's getting hit. It's getting hit pretty darn hard. So hackberry is a little bit better than what a lot of folks think it really is. That's what a hackberry looks like right there. Pretty solid as far as the deer eating it. You can see they are hitting this maple pretty hard, getting quite a bit of browse pressure really up and down this plant. You can see right there, the whitetails have really hammered it. You got some more hackberry right here, getting hit pretty hard as well. We're kind of in the travel corridor now. There's some pokeweed right there, some American burnweed. There's some common ragweed there. For as good of a forage as this is, as much as we see this around here, I very rarely see this get ate. I mean, I've just looked and looked and looked, and you definitely do see it get ate some, but it's not as significant as, at least in my parts, it's not as significant as what a lot of folks say it is. All right, we got a hickory here. And I see absolutely zero evidence of any whitetails eating the hickory. Once again, this area here is a travel corridor. You can look up through there just 15 to 20 yards that way, and you see that you have big, large, closed canopy forest. That's exactly what this looked like before we did our habitat project down in here. Here's the elm right here, definitely getting hit. Elm is a great tree to hinge cut. It is a very, very good tree. Whitetails highly prefer a elm tree in doing that. So I really like cutting elms and letting the whitetails have that. You can see there's a lot of trees that got plenty of sunlight, but they don't sprout. I feel like from what I see, now this varies by species, 30 to 50% of the trees that you cut and do not treat will resprout. This is a cherry right here. That's a hickory. Both, neither one of them sprouted at all. Here is a hickory, a young hickory that we cut to direct traffic. This is where I want these deer to be using. The main food plot is just up there, about another 150 yards. So as we walk through here, you just don't see much evidence of deer hitting these hickory. Here's another elm right here. You can see it's getting browsed really, really heavily. Quite a bit of browse pressure up and down on this elm. Here's another one. Same thing. I mean, it's just getting absolutely hammered. That would be 3 feet tall right now if all that wasn't getting ate. And you can just come down and it's just constant all the way down the tree. A lot of prickly shaft flower out here. A lot of burnweed, germander. So there's some pokeweed. Okay, so we've reached the edge. We're 75 yards from the food plot at this point, and this is just amazing to me. I wanted to bring you guys in here, even though this is my sanctuary. This is the last time I'm going to bring you in here and show you this until wintertime. This area looked just like that, right there. No food whatsoever on the ground. Nothing really of benefit to whitetails. We came in here and did a heavy TSI, FSI bedding cut. You can see all the sunlight that's we've let in. We've left some of the higher quality trees in here. You can see white oak right there. Some of the better trees we've left, but for the majority of them, we came in here and did a clear cut and a hinge cut as well on a lot of these trees. Just tried to get rid of a lot of the overhead canopy and open this up for the whitetails. This is just amazing, the habitat, the structure for these whitetails. There's tons of food in here, a lot of pokeweed in here. There's some beefsteak in here. That stuff grows everywhere in Western Kentucky. You just can't hardly get rid of it. But quite a bit of pokeweed in here. This is just really providing a lot of cover and a lot of food for these whitetails. So we got a black cherry here. Definitely getting browsed on. Not crazy high amounts, but 100% definitely getting ate on. Almost every one of those shoots has been browsed down. So it is getting hit pretty hard. And I see that awful lot on the black cherries. They're a pretty good tree to hinge. They hinge pretty well, and the whitetails generally like them pretty good. You can see some of the good trees that we left. There's a good white oak right over there. Not real sure why we left this hackberry. Cannot really remember, to be 100% honest with you, why we left it. I'm sure there was a reason at this point. This stuff is starting to grow in so thick. It's really, really difficult for me to navigate through this environment. All right, here's another elm. As you can see, it is getting absolutely hammered. That's probably the hardest hit tree that I've seen since I've been walking right there. But I mean, you can see down through there, it is just getting absolutely hammered. Okay, this is white ash right here. And as you can see, getting browsed at least somewhat hard by the whitetails. They've ate the top side of it for sure. Okay, last one. This is a pig nut hickory. You can see at the top they've ate it. They've ate the first several sprouts all the way down. Did the same thing to this one over here. So there is definitely something to maybe a pig nut hickory that these deer really like. So some of you may be asking, Wes, why did you not show us any white or red oaks? Well, I didn't cut any white or red oaks. I'm trying to do what's best for the whitetail and what's best for the timber production. I didn't cut hardly any white oaks or red oaks. This woods is not overrun with white oaks and red oaks. It really had a pretty good mix of white oak, red oak, hickory, hackberry, elm, maple. So there was several different species that I targeted in there that are in these woods, and I went and I targeted the ones that I knew the whitetails were going to eat, which is mainly the elms, some of the maples, some of the hackberries, and I left a lot of the good timber that's still down in here. I made that timber better by leaving the stand and cutting the competing trees with it. So that's what I did on the property, but it is well known when you're trying to plant white oak or red oak out in your woods that you have to put a grow tube in them because whitetails love them so much. So those two are pretty well known in the whitetail community that whitetails are going to absolutely demolish them any chance that they get. If you need help setting up your deer hunting farms, your food plots, your stand locations, your access, your screening, thing like that, you can go to my website, www.diyfoodplotpro.com, and you can click on Boots on the Ground Visit. I'll come to your farm this winter. We will walk it and make a detailed plan that makes that property hunt better. We will figure out what food plots grow best in your soil type and your environment. I will have a full recommendation of food plots and stand locations, TSI and FSI and bedding cuts on that property. So if that's something that interests you, you can go to www.diyfoodplotpro.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Y'all smash that like and subscribe button.